Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashrothi, and this is the Eve Universe Tuesday show on Wednesday. I had my my COVID shot. I ran out of my ADHD meds. It's been a long weekend. I missed my Tuesday deadline. I did tweet about it. I was like, can I take one more day, guys? And people were like, do it. And I was rewarded for my effort because yesterday, if I had tried to ask the question of what was changing in Eve, I would have only had the loosest of answers, and CCP came down on a high on a Wednesday and said, you know what? Today's the day that things get announced, things get changed, and HoboLeaks gets, or Sissy gets updated. So here we are. We have two big changes to discuss today on Sissy, and then if we want to have any more further discussion, I can always head out of Sissy, go hang out on Tranquility and run some more of the event sites and maybe talk a little bit more broadly when we get more in the chatty portion of things. But I just really wanted to break down some of the biggest changes that were talked about and announced today. Let's see whether or not there's anything going on. Is anyone else's chat cut off? I am not showing chat right now on stream. All right. So I have over here all of the different items that were added to Singularity today. As well as these rats, which we might be able to mention. And we now have the location of all of the Stargate connections and a lot more understanding of what that means. I also have on, we also have the dev blog that was just given out. Hold on, let me pull that up. Boom. So let's start there. The first thing I want to say before we go any further is this says in testing. This is very important as we try to understand these changes and discuss it moving forward. Hold on, let me put on desktop audio so that way you guys can have a little bit of ambiance, and if anybody pops in to talk, you guys can hear them and they won't be muted. So this is stated as being in test, which means this isn't just like balance change test. This is mechanics level test. So what we see on Sissy right now is not reflected on the final results. And this isn't even like a normal, the numbers are subject to change kind of thing. Because we all know, like 90% of the time, the numbers are true. But there's actually a literal disparity between what is on Sissy and what is in these blogs. And it specifically says that this is letting us test these mechanics early. And so, and some of the mechanics are not behaving as they are described in the dev blog, which leads me to believe that this is still a very much in development feature. And so if things are, you know, when things are different between the dev blog and Singularity, I strongly recommend us err on the side of the dev blog being what is true. All right, so let's just step through some of this. Actually, interestingly enough, industrialists, or rather logistics for industry, just got a big buff with this change as it's written. So let's talk about it. Nullification and Warpcore stabs updates. Testing has begun. Okay, cool. So this is a big change to how these two things worked. Interdiction nullification and Warpcore stabilizers both are getting significant changes in a very similar way, but both of them have slightly different functions. Kuda, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, Eve Online. These have slightly different functions and also different balance. So it's important to keep them separate in our heads, okay? So we'll deal with them separately. Worst Kench NA, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole.
Immortal.
I'm going to mute the alerts, though. Can I? Yes. There we go. That should mute it for everybody. So I'll still be able to thank you guys, but it won't like talk over everybody. That sounds like a fair compromise. All right. So we're going to start with Warpcore stabilizers because that's the simpler one. Warpcore stabilizers are a current low slot module that have that give your ship additional warp core stability basically, the way it works is your ship starts with 1 point of warp core stability. And if you lose that point of warp core stability, thanks to, say, a warp disruptor, then you can't warp. You have to have at least 1 point of warp core stability. If you have a ship with bonus warp core stability, like a Venture, or if you add on these warp core stabilizers, which are a low slot module, you can build up additional warp core stability, which means, like, if somebody does a warp disruptor on you, one single warp disruptor is insufficient to point you. If you have enough warp core stabs, it will take multiple points, multiple scrams, or whatever, depending on how many low slots you commit to this. But there's a cost. Hey, Nolan coming in with his T1 sub. Thank you for that. Let's celebrate by showing us your clades. Thank you so much. Anywho, okay, so and I'm going to get through the description, and then I'll get back to what, like, the chat is talking about with it too. But I want to get through all like the foundations of it first. So right now you would just stack a whole bunch of warp core stabs, but each one of those warp core stabs come with these giant penalties, right? So here, let me show you. Oh, no, I can't show you what they're currently like right now because I'm on Sissy. So, but they have these scan resolution. They make it so it's harder to lock. You can't lock as far. Anybody who's ever done exploration with warp core stabs knows that there are some drawbacks to using warp core stabs, and they stack. So, you know, having multiple of them, it really, really makes it so that your ship is basically combat ineffective. But warp core stabs have always been a problem, especially in low sec, especially in things like faction warfare, where being able to get out of a fight has been an issue, but yet they're still functional. They're useful for cat and mouse games, industrialists, haulers, rather. You know, there's a whole bunch of gameplay that kind of relies on warp core stabilizers as gameplay. So warp core stabilizers are being changed to be an active module, not a passive module. Now, what's interesting about that is that the drawback of having a warp core stabilizer is being hold on one second. Actually, I need to find the other page. Yes, this is the details. Here we go. So with the warp core stabs, the drawbacks, the targeting range reduction of 50% of -50%, the scan resolution reduction of 50%, and the drone bandwidth reduction, which I think is new, of 50%, which this is actually this is one of those bugs on Sissy. It currently reads 50 megabyte bit, but it's actually it cuts it in half, the bandwidth by this post. But the interesting thing about, and this is actually incorrect too, according to Sissy, because it says on Sissy that it's worth 3. But the warp core only allows 1 to be fit, whereas these also allow 1 to be fit. So it looks like they're already playing with some of these ideas. So it's hard to say which one of these is going to be correct, because if I go on Sissy right now and I look up the stabilizers, did I delete the stabilizers? No, they're not a new they're not a new item. Hold on. Warp core derp. Just when you think you're ready. So in this case, warp scramble strength is -3. I think that means additional warp core stability. And so as you can see, it has the 150 second delay. So you get all of these penalties all the time, but you only get this bonus during this time, and it only allows 1 to be fit. So you only can have 1, but it's worth 3. This is also worth 3. So in fact, if we compare the variations, the difference is how much the penalties hit you, how much CPU it takes, and how long it lasts, with the faction or the storylines being the longest lasting for them. But this seems to imply that you only get to fit 1 of them, but the blog or the actual text as it's written by CCP Dopamine says something different. So we're going to have to keep an eye on exactly how this is going to work. Well, I would expect it to be +3 to warp core stability, but rather it says -3 to warp scramble strength, which is kind of a weird way of looking at it. I don't know if that means something wrong or something different. What's a clade? Akasha. The three clades of the Triglavian Collective. How are you doing, Akasha? Long time no see. Okay, so this is warp core stabilizers. What this means is that ships that are using warp core stabilizers, you get +3 warp core stabilization according to this system. If there is if it is as it is on Sissy. If it is on Trank, or sorry, on the forums, then it kind of implies that it's sort of the same. You still load up your full low slots with stab. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those two ends up being where it goes with that. That's interesting. But the penalty is going to be happening all the time, even when you're not stabbed. I do find it interesting. I wonder if people are going to be stab baiting more often now. I guess it wouldn't make too much of a difference. I don't know. We'll have to see how this works. But the much more interesting change, the bigger change, I think, in the end, is going to be this interdiction nullification change. It's going to have the biggest secondary ramifications, I believe. I think that this warp core stab is just kind of the warp core stab change that we've been needing for years, and it's just like good to go. We'll have to see how it plays out exactly. What's up, Retrofusion? And I've been quite well, thank you, Akasha. Okay, so interdiction nullification. This is a difficult one, or this is the one that has been causing all of the hootenanny today, I think. Interdiction nullification is the ability for a ship to ignore warp bubbles. As of right now, the yacht, T3 cruisers, and half of the interceptors, and deep space transports, I believe. Maybe? No, deep space transports just get extra warp core points, warp core stability. So, yeah. I think it's only those three that get interdiction nullification. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And only T3 cruisers that get the interdiction nullification subsystem get to have this capability. So those three ships, basically a glorified shuttle built into a cruiser, half of the interceptors, and these specifically configured T3 cruisers get the ability to basically just ignore warp bubbles. Nemo, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, which is EVE Online. This change weakens the advantage of those specific ships in two different ways. One, it makes it so the interdiction nullification is not an absolute. But two, it also makes that functionality far, far more accessible in gameplay. So let's talk about this. Introducing the interdiction nullification module. This is a low slot module. Yeah, well, and we'll get to the shuttles in just a second. This is a low slot module that has has a cooldown just like the warp core stabilizers. It's a little over 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. It has that built-in scan resolution bonus, maximum targeting range bonus, all that stuff that's built into it. Those are going to be active all the time. So if you have this thing fit to a ship, it's basically gimped out effectively. But it can be fit to all these different things. Now, it is worth noting that the dev blog specifically does not list industrials as being an option, but does list blockade runners and deep space transports. The rest of these are correct. Seem correct. The difference is instead of industrials, you do get Tech 1 and faction frigates by the dev blog. So let's go back to the dev blog real quick. No, this thing doesn't say anything at all, does it? It's all in this post. Got it. Okay, so interceptors, blockade runners, covert ops frigates, deep space transports, luxury yachts, strategic cruisers, Tech 1 and faction frigates, stealth bombers. Okay, so let's just rattle off the top of my head some of the, we'll call it secondary impacts of this, things that aren't necessarily mentioned. First of all, electronic warfare frigates and assault frigates are not included. I guess screw them specifically. This actually means that your battleship's frigate escape bay frigate will likely be able to be nullified now. This means that Asteros, hacking ships, exploration ships, and stealth bombers can all be nullified. This means that wormholes in particular have a much harder time protecting themselves from having a bunch of stealth bombers suddenly show up, jump through, warp and land onto you, and blow you up because they can get through your bubbles. This makes having an expensive pod while using a battleship in nullsec not as terrible of an option. And this is a significant, this is a potential nerf to the speciality of that specific interceptor type, because now those interceptors that were supposed to just get this functionality in general now only gets it when they gimp themselves, and it isn't even special to them anymore. So what makes one type of interceptor over the combat interceptor? And also, it may look like the combat interceptors also get it, which means why, like, the only advantage to the other interceptor is that you get to use it and also forego some of the penalties. So that's the big thing. But even then, it says interceptors. So I'm not even sure if this is going to be all interceptors or just these fleet interceptors. But so fleet interceptors are losing their bonus, along with luxury yachts and Tech 3 propulsion subsystems. So all of those are going away. Everybody's losing their passive nullification. The Tech 3 subsystem, the passive nullification is gone. You still have the subsystem though, but it's no longer necessary to use this module. You actually can now be you can have a Tech 3 cruiser that is not interdiction nullified. Sorry, does not use the Tech 3 interdiction nullification subsystem, but can be interdiction nullified. The use of the low slot module does not appear to be requiring this subsystem. The subsystem merely gives you the bonus. The bonus being a 50% reduction in the reactivation delay. So that cuts it down to just over a minute, maybe a minute and a half, I think, for a delay. And then increased duration in the interdiction nullification module. So that way when you use it, it lasts for twice as long, which theoretically speaking means that you could maybe hit grid, see that, warp to a pounce, align, nullify, warp jump through, warp off before your 30 seconds of nullification is over. But whoo boy, and Lord help you if there's another nullification that you run into before that. Well, I guess, so they still will be very slippery, and there'll still be a reason to use the subsystem, but it's not a requirement now, which, I mean, obviously they can swap out subsystems anytime that they can swap out low slots, basically. But this does, I mean, it technically adds a little bit of flexibility while it's taking away that incredibly specific. Swift mentioned industrials. I mean, it may be industrial. Maybe they'll include industrials then. It may not be listed on here. The point is that with these differences in play, it's hard to tell. And at this point, I don't even know if I can follow my rule of following the dev blog over following what's on Sissy. At this point, I'm not even sure who has the most up-to-date answers. But it's just an indication of how shallow down the road we are at the moment. It's up for grabs. Who got screwed the most? Interceptors. Absolutely. Interceptors got really screwed. Who got buffed the most? So far, Scorpion Official, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole with GV9. The two groups that win out of this so far, as it is New Bros or Alpha Pilots and Smugglers. Which brings us to the other big difference that I've completely skipped over up until this point. The game changer and the thing that's got everybody in a tizzy and has caused all of the markets to go crazy, which is the idea of interdiction shuttles. When did CCP Swift talk about this stuff? I missed that. Awesome. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So CCP Paradox says that we should be expecting a tidy up on this patch on Sissy. So we'll be talking about this more on the Friday show for sure. If not before then. So, but where was I? So the thing is that this makes it a lot less special, and it makes it not require Omega to have this functionality anymore. I think that's one of the biggest changes. Since hold on, actually, let me double check this now that I'm here and can check things. Interdiction nullification. Oh no, interdiction nullifier 1 takes Omega skills. It takes an Omega skill because it takes warp drive operation 4. And I assume that alphas don't get warp drive operation 4. So alphas do not get to use this on their T1 frigates, but that brings me to the last point, which is that apparently all shuttles are also going to get interdiction nullification. And if what did they say about activating under cloak? I want to hear about that answer too. And can you link me that those posts? So shuttles are apparently going to also get interdiction nullification, and they're actually going to be the only ship that now has interdiction nullification built into them passively, which I think is really interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it makes it so that interdiction nullification no longer is tied to skills. If somebody wants to get somewhere in nullsec and all they do is care about getting there, they can do so in relative safety outside of smart bombing in a shuttle. If they want to get through Thera, or if they want to get through Poshfin, bubble camping is no longer going to stop just a person getting through it. The idea of you need to get an interceptor in order to have your nullsec shuttle is no longer required. Your nullsec shuttle is now a shuttle, which is okay, cool. Yeah, so on Sissy, one of the other things that we saw on Singularity, or sorry, on the Hobo Leaks, let me show you this. There's a point about being able to activate Covops under Gate Cloak. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with it, but there is a new trait. There's an attribute. Can activate Gate or in Gate Cloak. So there's this new attribute that if it's set to, or if it's active, then that means that that module can be activated under Gate Cloak. So let's see if Covops. I don't see them there. It's actually, I can just search for it like this. Boom, boom, boom. There we nope. It hasn't been assigned to anything yet. But you're saying that they were talking about doing it to Covops cloak, so that way you don't have to ever be uncloaked, as it were. That could be interesting. But okay, so back to this nullification thing. So now more ships, T1, including T1 frigates, are going to be able to use these nullifiers, which means theoretically you could put it on your frigate escape bay frigate. You could travel around nullsec using these nullifiers, and you could probably still get a pretty decent shield tank out of them. Yeah, I'll show this off. I tried it too. But as you can see, you can activate right now, as of right now, you can add and activate a nullification module, even if you do not have the nullification subsystem. The verbiage of the nullification subsystem hasn't been changed at all, though, I don't think. Another big one is that blockade runners now both get Covert Ops Cloak and Interdiction Nullification, which is a pretty big 1-2 combo to give them. I feel like this really makes blockade runners be able to be true to their name in a way that they weren't before. I think that the biggest thing is that, like, the biggest balance for these is if it's, you know, the 2-minute countdown, right? Like, sure, you got out of, so I have bubbles on a gate, right? You want to get through it. You can either warp to it and try to sneak through everybody cloaked so you can jump through and then activate and get through, or you can activate it, warp to it, jump, and then be stuck in a bubble on cloak. If you have both sides of a bubble of a system of a gate bubbled up, it's going to be really hard to get these things through it. Yeah, so the timer persists through docking and undocking. Yeah, so it's a hard thing, and if you're waiting 2 minutes, you're really giving them an opportunity to set up every single jump a new gate camp if they really want to hunt you down. Hold on a second. That's him replying to somebody. Let me. Oops. Paradox. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's saying that yes, it's related. So somebody pointed out that exact attribute, and CCP Paradox said that it is related to the Warpcore stab changes, and that there's an update to the forum post that will explain it a little bit. What we believe is going to happen is the Interdiction Nullification module is the module that will be able to be activated while under cloak, because the problem is that the calculation of whether or not you can warp is done at the moment that you hit warp, right? So, or at least like. So if you're in Interdiction Nullification and you hit warp, if you're cloaked, it just won't let you warp. So this will allow the person to activate the module while they're still under gate cloak, which will allow them to make a valid warp out of gate cloak. Whereas before, if they didn't do that, as of right now, no module can be activated under gate cloak. So what you would have had to do is you'd have to align cloak, activate the module, warp, or whatever. And that just doesn't feel as good. So letting you activate this module so you can make that warp even when there's bubbles up, I think is the correct option. All right. So that is those changes. Let's talk about the did I miss anything about those changes? This is a pretty significant change, but there's other pieces coming too. There's new intelligence stuff involving, dealing with cloaky camping. There's new changes to rogue walls and orcas. There's a lot of other changes going on too. So this is a pretty significant change. I think it's going to increase the cat and mouse gameplay. I think it's really interesting that they're giving it to so many other ships like T1 industrialists, or like industrialists, blockade runners, and whatnot. I feel like this is going to allow like industrialists to, or like this idea of the smuggler, right? The guy who's, the blockade runner that will deliver anywhere and can get through any blockade. This really plays to that fantasy. So I do find it really bizarre that electronic warfare frigates lose the capability of using interdiction nullification by becoming an electronic warfare frigate, right? So if I take my Griffin and I upgrade it to Kitsune, it actually, something about that upgrade makes it no longer capable of fitting one of these interdiction nullification modules. Feels a little bit odd, if you ask me. The fact that this is a limit like left out for assault frigates and electronic warfare frigates seems a bit odd to me. And then I also think that this means that they should probably look at the frigate escape bay again. Because there were certain module or ships that were kind of left out of the frigate escape bay, like the Interceptor, because it was like, oh, well, you don't want them to warp out when they're interdicted or interdiction nullified. But that looks like it's going to be a thing now. So either prevent it from being a thing or whatever. So I believe that there will definitely still be a value to that interceptor. You know, the interceptors that do the ships that do get this bonus. The one other question is, of course, what is this going to do to the Leopard? Because if the Leopard gets interdiction nullification on top of everything else, that's badonkers. That makes the Leopard one of the single best ships. Like there, so many Leopards dying in smart bombs because people think that means that they're safe from everything. Isn't a frigate escape bay useless though without nullification? I mean, if you're no, because in in low sec or in high sec, you can still escape in your frigate escape or frigate, but also the idea of the frigate escape bay is that you now have a frigate, which is another semi-functional, ship. So this could be an electronic warfare ship, so that way you can continue to disrupt the opponent. It could be a logi ship, so that way you can actually help out the ship in some way. But now it can help you GTFO. And I mean, you used to be able to fit up your frigate escape bay to try to get out of any bubble, for example. But now you could just have it be able to be interdicted and just get out. So this is a significant buff to the frigate escape bay for sure. Frigate ancillary ammo bay. That's a good point too. Yep, frigate escape bay is great for hauling ammo as well. It's great to pop out and get some scanning done. There's a lot of good functionality to it. Well, so there's a comment. Schmelly Orc says, I understand that they want new players to play Eve, but they're adding stuff that makes too new player friendly and it'll ruin the game for their loss. I don't understand how this makes it new player friendly. I think that there's clear paths. This gives new players options. New players are told less, sorry, you have to wait until you get this training before you can even start doing stuff. They are getting rid of some of those. Logi said, yep, exactly. Logi ship in a battleship. Yeah. Okay, on to the other half of today's discussion, which is Stargate Trailblazer. We got way more details about Stargate Trailblazer, and so now we have a pretty firm idea of what is going on. So the Stargate Trailblazer Initiative is a new initiative to build 4 Stargates in New Eden. Each Stargate is kind of unique in their own way and is tied to one of the 4 Empire's efforts. This is, in my opinion, a giant test on what is important to players and what players will fight for. There are indications that all 4 of these Stargates will be active or be able to be built at the same time, and there is significant implications that players will be allowed to disrupt the construction of these gates, although how well and how effectively is still unknown. So let's talk about what we do know. Once upon a time, there was a feature named Resource Wars. Resource Wars are sites that have multiple tiers of difficulty. You go inside, and there is ore to be mined and an orca, and there are rats that spawn for both sides, both friendly and hostile. The hostile rats will attempt to kill you. The friendly rats will attempt to help you. In general, as you go up the tiers, you need to bring more combat ships and stronger mining ships in order to be able to make it. Completion of the site involves mining the rocks within the site and loading it into the orca. The faster you do it, you get graded either on bronze, silver, or gold. Those sites were taken out of the game completely about 6 months ago and said that they're going to be reworked to be brought back, and it appears that this is the way that they're going to be brought back. So, around each of these Stargates, around each of these systems, there will be new sites spawning. These resource sites will be spawning in and around these systems. And completion of the Resource Wars sites appear to be connected directly to whether or not these Stargates get built, or at least how fast they get built. As I said, each one of them seems to be a very different question of what motivates players. So we'll talk about each one of them individually and what they might mean. First and foremost, we have the meme gate, the Tashmerkon gate to stain. So the Sanmatar gate in Tashmerkon. Hold on. Show a map. Sanmanir gate in Tashmerkon, or Sanmanir system, sorry, will be connected to FZ-TAC-ICZ. And this is in stain. So for years, we've had a meme on Reddit that we need a low sec gate to stain by Stain Guy and others. There's all kinds of argument about it, about whether or not CCP should do it. And with this event, you players will get to choose whether or not this gate exists. So this is the first one of the 4. This is the Amarians one. They're trying to make a gate from Tashmerkon, low-sec Tashmerkon, all the way to Stain. Now, this isn't contiguous low-sec, I don't think. Maybe there's some more low-sec. Yeah, maybe it links into other places. But this is that low-sec gate to Stain that they're talking about. Cool. Next up. Placid. Get the Galente system. We get Kenrick. To Egglehorn, which is up here. Yeah, there we go. So this is our gate to Solitude. Now, a couple things to note about this. A lot of players were concerned because people thought this was going to be a high-sec to high-sec gate to Solitude. This is a low-sec to high-sec gate to Solitude. So, and it's pretty deep in low-sec. Like, it's 6 or so jumps into low-sec to get to this system. So it's not like Solitude's going to be suddenly connected to high-sec and like people can come and occupy Solitude. What this does is it cuts through the null-sec route through Solitude, I think, and more importantly, it makes it Galente to Galente. The normal route through Solitude is over here, which is through non-Galente sovereign space, null-sec, and the high-sec way to get through there is through Caldari high-sec, or sorry, Caldari low-sec rather. So, which is not cut off, or which is cut off. So what's happened here is the president of the Federation, Celis Agard, last year got elected on a platform of building this Stargate. So while this Stargate is a question of whether or not you want the meme to be a dream, this Stargate is almost explicitly, do you wish to help the president get her way? Because the people in Solitude aren't necessarily going to be as hostile as I thought they were going to be, because this isn't a dire threat to their isolation, but they will likely still resist it, the creation of this gate. So there's going to be a bit of a fight for this one. But the question is telling the player base that an NPC actor wants it to be there enough to get people to fight for it? So it's going to be an interesting question to ask. Next. The next one has a different interesting facet to it, as they all do. This one is from Kenrick, which is... Hold on. Where is it? Show a map. No, sorry. My bad. Wrong one. I got confused. Uriok, which is in Metropolis. This is like literally right next to Heck. Uriok, 2 jumps from Heck, right? Leads to Pakshi. Oops. Pakshi is really close deep into Galente space. Actually kind of close to Uli. This puts it sort of close to Dodixie, but it also... Let's see where Jita is comparatively. I bet this is to get it kind of close to Jita. Oh, I'm in Jita right now. Of course. I forgot I'm on the test server. I mean, I don't know if that makes it closer there, but it is an interesting jump. The interesting thing about this actually is the fact that this is the only one where both systems are in high security space. So this might be the one that's going to be the hardest to fight over, and therefore will most likely be built. I haven't fully digested what makes this, what changes it being built would make, but it is worth noting that it is the only one in which both sides of the connection are high security space. So I feel like this is the one that is the most likely to be built, just because. And, this one is actually one of the most interesting for long-term high sec, right? So this one is for those of you asking that we want a high sec connect, or we want to reconnect Poshvin, or sorry, we want to reconnect through Niarja. Basically, we need to replace Niarja. This is a potential reconnection from Niarja. Okay, so this one is crazy too, by the way. So let's look at this. So on the one hand, one side is here. Ooh, I'm gonna make everybody dizzy. Jita's here, right? Asutaka is there. It's 3 jumps away from Jita. Okay? And on the other side, you have like super far away. Look at that jump. Holy crap. You have this system, which is if I go Amar as my destination after this and set it as a waypoint, you'll see it only adds, see, I go from 23, so 7 jumps. So it's 10 jumps total. 10 jumps connecting. Now, this Abazan system becomes a new low-sec choke point between Amar and Jita. But that means that all of these blockade runners, with all their new fancy Warpcore stabs and all that sort of stuff, the people who can sneak through here will be able to do so with a 10-jump route between Jita and Amar. That's if it can get built. I've already talked to some people, and there are some people that are the people that worked very hard to go after Poshvin, to make Poshvin and to break the empires in half, to break the Jita route in half, to create the Silk Road. The people that worked on that, they're not going to give this one up lightly either. So it's going to be an interesting question to see if this one gets built too. So 4 different gates. Likely there's only going to be a short time to build them. Each of them have different reasons why people may or may not go after them. And I expect that this is happening very soon. Like, the current event is going on right now. The event is not opening on the Sissy. Whatever. The event is going to be over soon enough. When this event is over, then this thing is going to happen anytime. I expect actually next month to basically be surrounding these 4 systems and the systems around him, because all of the sites are, or it says that the sites are going to come around them. This looks like a kind of faction warfare, where normally the faction warfare sites would be the normal complexes and you run the sites in order to flip the system. In this case, this is around those systems, you run the sites, which are mining sites. So those of us who are going to want to build some of these Stargates are going to not only need to mine the sites and run the actual sites, but we're also going to need to pull security for those running the sites. How many jumps apart would Dodixie and Heck be? Very not that many. It did not look like that many. Hold on. Like 6. all high sec. In fact, it may even circumvent the gate camp that normally would be there. I don't know, man. There's a lot of interesting things about it. But let me pull up Hobalik stuff, and we can talk about the strings and what they mean. All right, so a lot of the clues about this comes from the strings itself. So scroll. Here we go. So they updated these the descriptions of the mining site instructions to include the systems, and it lists all of the systems. This is what's led me to believe that I think all of the Stargate contests are going to happen at the same time, because otherwise it would list out which system it would have. They have the ability to like load in like variables. I don't know if there's any good examples of it in that I can find right now. Hey, Sir Nub. Glorification of the fit, mortification unfit. Sir Nub, thank you very much. You, sir, are glorified. Thank you for that. We're just going over some of the new Stargate construction event that looks like it's brewing up. So this seems to imply that all of the gates are going to be able to be built at the same time, which may pull people's focus, which it might be interesting. Soulshank, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, which is EVE Online. Also, I've noticed that it goes destroy 10, destroy 20, destroy 30, deposit 10, deposit 20, deposit 30. This tells me that this is going to be like one of those events, like just like the current event, where you're also potentially going for a track or achievements of some kind, maybe tied to either way. This looks like it might be cumulative as opposed to like the different tiers of difficulty. I think that these are actually I think that this is because Resource Wars was originally in the activity tracker, so this might be fixes for that. Hard to say, but it is worth noting that they do specify getting silver or gold in a very achievement-y kind of way. So this is it could be an achievement. It could be like a track that you go on. But either way, this looks like something that is going to be a relatively short-lived event that people can participate in to decide whether or not these Stargates get built. Oh, that's another interesting one. So what he's saying is that right now you could go there on Dr. Spot is saying that if you go there on Sissy right now, you can see a whole bunch of orcas and such, and there's a bunch of diamond rats, which is another piece that I didn't mention earlier, which is that there are these Sancha diamond rats that were added in. I don't know if these are going to be like expanded upon as we get closer. It is worth noting that Stain is the home region of Sancha, so if anyone's trying to stop the Stain gate from being built, it would be them. But there's definitely a lot more to this that we don't know. But this does look like it's going to be the next big thing. Resource Wars was great. The only thing wrong with Resource Wars was volatile skins. Right now, the only if they're talking about the diamond rats, these are the diamond rats that they just added. So I assume that these would be the diamond rats that are showing up. So no, they don't appear to have. Let's look. Whoop. Hold on. Yeah, I don't see anything about repair. I'm nuts. Okay. Yeah, I think that it is very possible that they literally just put those in here to prevent us from messing with it too much on Singularity. It's hard to say at this time. Right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And that's basically the way that the event sites were originally, is that you have diamond rats or you know, as you're running the site, diamond rats would warp in. Both sides diamond rats would warp in, and you would have to kill the hostile diamond rats and help your friendly diamond rats to finish the site. The lowest tier site could be finished on just like a normal venture. You could just tank the rats, but anything above tier 1 couldn't be soloed in anything like in a T1 venture back in the day. You'd have to step up to a T2. But it also, they mentioned that they're releasing the locks on it. So I wonder if there's even going to be different kinds of sites, or if the better sites appear in more dangerous systems, or how this is all going to be played out. The way that the specifics of what kind of sites are available and what's allowed in each site is going to be a big deciding factor on how this actually plays out. But it is worth noting that it does say all previous access restrictions have been removed by the empires. So I don't know, man. Vombe Bombay, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, Eve Online. Yeah. Well, we're in the very preliminary days of it, but that is good to know. Let's see. Well, we'll like, is there? We'll have to see if there's like a meta track or something like that. That's the thing. There's clearly not everything assigned to this, because there's going to be a meta accomplishment as these sites are ran. I assume that it'll assist in progress towards completion of the Stargate, as it were. We'll have to see. Either way. Actually, that's a good point. Let's see. What is the closest system? Oh. I got an idea. Let's do it this way. Let's grab a quick frigate. Or a quick ship, rather. Does this fit? Not garbage? I need a not completely garbage fit, please. That ain't it. All right, fine. I'm going in the Stratios. So if I do a move me, we can just head to Heck, right? No? Garbage. Absolute garbage. Fine. I'll just go to the nearest one near Jita. What was that one? All right, here we go. Oh, hey. Bring this down. I got it, retro. It was let's go with OPSEC. Let's say that was good OPSEC. Oh my god. Seriously, CCP. If CCP is watching right now, I need to put a feature request in on this or something like this again. One thing that will help everybody. Move this open radial menu with to default to right mouse button. Let people adjust it from there, but stop having it be on the left mouse button. Please, I beg you. It's literally counterproductive. One unit of OPSEC. So by the way, guys, I don't know about you, but I've been making a lot of money doing these event sites. Like, people said that the high-sec rewards weren't that good. They can be not that good. They can be pretty good. They can be pretty darn good in high-sec. Let me tell you. Like, they're good in low-sec too. The hacking sites in low-sec are really, really good. That's the winner of this event is low-sec hacking sites. But just running the high-sec sites have been really good, and I haven't been contested that much. Then again, I'm in an Absolution that does over 1,000 DPS, so basically Chronoses can contest me, but Yeah, I did do a low sec combat site, got 100 million. I got plenty of sites that did 5 million, and I got plenty of sites that gave me 30, 60, 80 million in a high set combat site. It's just, I made a total of 650, 700 million, I think it was, in just overseer effects and other things that just got sold straight up, not skins or anything fancy like that. I made, I think, 650 to 700 million bounties and overseer effects in just the amount of time it took for me to get all the way up the track. You just have to be lucky, man. Just like anything else with high sec. It's all in the numbers. How's it going, Joachim? 07, sir? All right, so you're telling me that there's supposed to be stuff in here? Because I think that you're... Where are these sites? Nah. Sissy default bad. Okay. In the Amar place. Which system is the Amar? What system are you talking about? The regular beacons. Yep, I don't have anything. Oh, never mind. I'm so stupid. All right, hold on. Let me fix this. Tell me what it is, says the person that set everything up ahead of time. / move me. Amar. Notepad. Put it there now. Maybe it's only going to be on the low sec side. Itric Valdek, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, Steve Online. Paxi outside. I'll head to Abzon. While we talk, while we chat. Oh, they're gone? Okay, well. In that case, you caught something. You caught something, and I don't know if we're going to get it again, so. Oh, well. That's fine. By the way, guys, I know I've talked about this before, but I keep forgetting now that I've figured out the result of it. I've mentioned before that they added the scanning videos into the client, the new scanning videos, and then when I went to go do it, I couldn't find them. The reason why is because they only appear if you've finished the tutorial. If the person has the tutorial here, it will be the tutorial in the place of the help section. They have to go to a tutorial system and run the tutorial, which will allow them to get, clear that up, and then they'll be able to pull up all of the scanning systems. But a new player that has properly gone through the tutorial will have access to this video browser, which shows all of these scanning videos, which is pretty neat. Okay. Whale. I think that about covers everything I need to show off on Sissy. I don't remember. I don't think there's any new skins or anything like that. Let me double check. See if there's anything on the diff. This is the diff. Anything else I'm missing? Oh yeah, you do see that there's major Imperial mining expeditions, minor Imperial mining expeditions. They may do one at a time. because I only see the Imperial. Well, or maybe they're testing one. Maybe they were testing one. They forgot to turn it off, which is why you saw it at first. But they're testing the MR one and then rolling out all 4. Yeah, passive nullification will be added to all shuttles is a pretty interesting change. The Leopard went from 130 million to 400 million in JITA in just a matter of like an hour or two. In fact, hold on a second. I wanted to do this ahead of time, or I wanted to ask for permission ahead of time, but I failed to. So I'm going to just ask for forgiveness instead of permission. Hop on over to Pockets DK's YouTube channel, which you should absolutely check out. Let me post that for you. But I'm specifically going to go to a video that he and I made together a while back. Back when we were young and full of hope that Resource Wars was going to be good. Hold on, I gotta keep scrolling. It was a while ago. Oh no! Oh, fine. Hold on, let me look. Resource Wars. Here we go. So this is what Resource Wars looked like before, just so that we're of the same page. So, and I clean up my, yeah, here we go. So basically in the sites, there's all of these different rocks. The rocks require less mining than you would expect. So you actually don't mine a full cycle in order to be as efficient as possible. And if you see the blue thing up in the upper left-hand corner, that would be the orca that you're supposed to bring the ore and deposit it into. So in this view, you have myself flying around in a combat ship, and Pockets running around in the mining ship in this example. So this is the lowest tier site that used to be there. I don't know how much they're going to keep this site exactly as is, but this is what we're talking about. This is what I'm talking about when I say the old Resource Wars site. Well, there was a compelling, like, it's funny because the reward was actually not terrible if you did them fast enough. The issue is that the LP, the stuff on the LP store was literally a scam. And so a lot of people got angry about that. Either way. So, but in this case, you're going to want to run these sites not only for the payout or the accomplishment of running them, but to help construct these stargates. Interesting. Well, we'll have to see how the sites play out. Unless you were able to complete one of the sites, because the rats warp in throughout the site being ran. So it'll be hard to say until we're able to see. Oh, that's actually a good point, though. I was able to bump the orca there. So if that's true, I wonder if people... Because one of the interesting questions that I have, especially with that high-sec to high-sec gate, is how are people going to disrupt it? And I think that bumping is going to be a big one. Just bump the hell out of the orca or bump the hell out of the mining ships to prevent them from being able to actually run the sites. What are the odds that they're just going to make all 4 gates? I don't know, man. I can't tell you the odds until I know all the rules. I don't know the rules until... So, like, I don't know how long that we're going to be given and how easy it will be to disrupt. But as I mentioned earlier, I went over them earlier in the show. You can watch the video if you missed it. But I went over why each one of the gates are kind of a different question of why somebody might or might not fight to make it or not, or prevent it from being built. So it'll be interesting to see which of the 4 get built and why. Yeah, if there's no time limit, then they'll all happen eventually. But which leads me to believe that this, like, CCP's whole thing has been experimenting with letting us shape the world, letting our actions make decisions, etc. If all 4 builds are going to be built eventually, I feel like that undercuts their own design. I feel like this really allows us to decide whether or not there should be a low set gate to stain, among other things. Whether or not whether or not they get a mulligan and get an opportunity to reconnect Amar and Jita in some way, right? I think that these are important questions to ask. And if you just simply make it so that they get built eventually, it really undermines that. The invasions they were timed. If you didn't capture a system, then it was gone. Sure, like it was potentially inevitable that we would get enough systems, in theory, but that's only because of how many systems that we needed versus how many systems were available versus how many systems were under target at any given time. There's only 4 systems, and each of the systems have their own interesting reason why people are going to decide to participate in this on one side or another. So I like the fact that this is much more clearly laid out than the previous invasion stuff as well. Like, the rules of the game are going to be much more understandable, and the consequence of helping versus hurting, I feel, are going to be much more understood as we go into this. How do you go from 2 to 1? I don't understand. Hey, Satonia! Glorification of the fit, mortification of the unfit. You, sir, are glorified. We were just wrapping up talking about the big changes that are coming. Stuart Jack 68, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole with Eve Online. Satonia, do you want to give me a short summary of your opinion of the various changes to add to the discussion? Either the Warpcore stabs, interdiction nullification, new gates being built. I'm sure your stream was extremely interesting. Satonia, the champion of Eve trivia, the guy who knows, the counterexample that I use when people say that no one is good at Eve Online. Satonia himself has rated me. I appreciate it. Everybody who hasn't, please go follow that dude. If you watch my stream, chances are it's because you want to know more about Eve. If you want to know more about Eve, follow Satonia's stream. Good fucking God. Like I said, that trivia challenge just proved it. Jesus. I've said that about you for a long time, by the way. Feel good overall. A few things I'm worried about here or there, but I'm not understanding the rabbit pitch. I believe that a lot of the pitchforking is based on a lack of understanding of the mechanics as they are intended to end up, because they're half built into Sissy, and there's a lot of confusion between what the blog says and what Sissy represents. Yeah, I'm not sure about that Ashrathi guy either. The bombers getting nullification is definitely a big red flag. I think I agree with that. I think it's very odd that it's not going to electronic warfare or assault frigates. I think it's the Tech 1 Industrials is going to be an interesting one too. I feel like, yeah, the broad distribution to frigates is, I think, the most questionable part of that change, in my opinion. I don't know if it's going to be nuts on certain ships like the Astero, because it's basically like half of the ship's fitting, right? In theory. Anywho. So, as we know, or as we've been talking about, there's going to be big changes to both warp core stabilizers and inertial, interdiction nullification. Interdiction nullification is going to be much more available to much more people. Shuttles will have interdiction nullification, so now new players, alphas, regardless of skill, whatever, will be able to move around in nullsec, at least in their pod, without ignoring, or while ignoring bubbles. Whether or not this is going to make smart bombing in nullsec even more valuable to get those leopards out of the way, we'll have to see. I think that it's what I like about the warp core stabs and the inertial stabilizer, or the interdiction nullification changes, is that it makes it play counterplay before, whereas before, it becomes play counterplay now, whereas before it was way closer to a hard rock paper scissors scenario. How many leopards for sale? I looked. I managed to get 5, or I have 5. I was not one of the people that snatched them up right away. Resalon, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, Jizzy Online. How come you're not on TIS as much anymore? Because I wanted to focus on my own show. The goal here with the Eve Universe show is to not be related to, or to be focused more on the Eve Universe itself, the Eve game, not necessarily Eve politics or like what like if we're talking about players, I want to be focused more on what the players are doing, to look at the actual gameplay itself, not like who's winning or who's better or anything like that. I'm not interested in that. I want to look at impact of things and the universe as a whole. So rather than attempt to make TIS more of that, I wanted to focus on making this into the show for people that aren't part of Null Blocks, because people in Null Blocks get their information, right? They have their own connections, they have their routes, they have their news sources, they have their jabbers and all that stuff. It's the people that are not in Null Blocks that need these kinds of daily updates and whatnot. So I wanted to focus on a different kind of audience, and so that's what I'm here for. That's what Eve Universe is. I still really appreciate Talking Stations. I've rated them a few times, and I probably will even show up on there when it's time to talk about stuff. But the last couple of weeks, this is a one-man production, so it takes a lot. It takes a lot to make it all happen. As somebody who lives in Empire and cares more about the universe, I appreciate the focus. Exactly. Well, that's the thing. People. So even when I was on the Talking Stations, people told me like, "Hey, when are you going to start up again?" And I'm like, "But I'm on TIS." They're like, "Yeah, but like, when are you going to start your thing again?" And like, so it's very obvious to me that to my core audience, to the people that rallied behind me and that I showed was a valid, viable, and important audience, they wanted something different, and I wanted to be able to give my audience what it is that they want. I did so on YouTube this morning, yesterday I was supposed to be putting on so this show is supposed to be every Tuesday. I talk about what changed for the week, and every Friday we talk about what's going on this weekend. I'm being distracted by the fact that I'm in one of these systems, right, on Sissy, and I've noticed that my capacitor keeps flashing as if something's happening, and I don't understand why. It's really weird. It's as if something is forcing a recalculation over and over and over again. Sissy's weird, yo. Anywho, let me dock up real quick, so that way we can change over to my other account, or to Tranquility, and I can run some sites while chatting with you for a little while longer. Go on with the stream. I feel like I've gotten everything I needed to done out of Sissy.
Docking permission requested. Docking request
accepted. I do like the aura stuff and the animation and the increase in voice acting and animations and stuff, and I can't wait for CCP to work on that more. All right, I am going to do the be right back shtick just long enough for me to be able to swap clients. All right. This should do. Turn the alert box back on. Here we go. Here we go. Now somebody's going to have to get me back on track of what we were talking about. We will see the new NPC animations used for NPCs in any time in the future. That appears to be the direction that they're going. Like, I think that this animation is just the test bed for the next thing. There is a lot of world building that has been going on in the last 2 years, and they're leading towards something relatively big. And these changes in this quadrant appear to be the time in which that big stuff is going to really start to click in. So I'm extremely excited about what the next couple of months is going to play out. Even this EOM stuff is way bigger than just a Capsuleer Day event. The implications, we're not done with this EOM story either. Like, there are so many questions about how this influences, you know, what this means for other things that have happened over the last 2 to 5 years. I want the agency to be replaced by Aura, and Aura to be like the place that you go for all your information. So replace all of the agency UI, just rebrand it as Aura, keep it all, like, keep the same stuff, but just rebrand that entire UI element as Aura, and then also add in an extra tab for like the encyclopedia or whatever, and then put all of the show info information. Jesus, 2 golems and a gnosis? What the is even happening? All right, whatever. That's a lot. We're gonna move on now. I'm not even gonna bother. Anywho, that was also distracting. Yeah, the ramifications of what it means for Chalkade to be EOM is huge, because Chalkade was a major, like a major piece of the Khanate Kingdom's shtick for like 5 years, and also his attachments to the Order of Saint Tetramon and Sorum. House Sorum is also pretty stinky. So there's something there, man.
Warp drive active.
EOM aren't in one mission, are they? Excuse me. I thought EOM were in way more than just one mission. Yeah, I mean, that's why I believe that Aura should be the main, like, your main go-to source of information. Like, when I open up this agency, it shouldn't be agency. It should be Aura. It should have Aura's face there. It should say, like, in the echoes, when you open up the encyclopedia like thing, it asks you, "How are you feeling, pilot?" Like, I feel like having Aura build up a connection with you right away and then throwing that away at the very beginning is a mistake. We want to lead people to how they can get information. That needs to be clear and rewarded. Letting people build up an emotional connection and an idea that this is where they can go to find out information about the game, to go to Aura to find out not only how to play, but also what to do, right? So, like, I can find out how to run the Abyss and also what Abyss is to run, or I can find out how to run event sites and also where to find event sites, or how to hack and also where to find signatures. It is my shipboard computer with a human face, Aura. It makes sense. The entity leading plot twist, the entity controlling the leader of the EOM was Aura all along. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's a big mistake that they let Aura just kind of fade into the background. Is that you? No. What am I doing? I'm not even using the right crystals. If they added an encyclopedia, I would spend all my time reading it, not actually playing. I think that is a good idea, though, man. Like, just take all of the show info information and put it in the game, or put it in that spot, and then maybe even add in some basic, pages for some concepts like damage types, tracking, etc. So that way, when those things are referenced in various different places, you can, if I see a ship with a bonus that's good for tracking, it also will link me to. If I click on the tracking bonus, it'll bring me to the page that tells me more about tracking and how tracking works. Now you have Eve is a learnable game through gameplay, right? When you're figuring out what's wrong, you show info, you right click, show info, pulls up the Aura entry for that information. Aura gives you whatever information she has on the thing that you're looking into, and from that you can build an idea of what to do and how to better interact with the game. Holy crap! Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be neat if we could have something like that? Ugh. Also, I really love the idea of, like, instead of waiting for us to go to everything, like, you're a brand new capsuleer, fresh on the market. Other agents should be contacting you and trying to convince you to work for them. Now, don't let them bug you over and over and over again, but Aura should be like, hey, I've got some information from this guy who wants you to do faction warfare, wants you to do resource wars, wants you to do missions for SOE, wants you to do distribution missions, this guy wants you to do this thing, and introduce players over time, over the course of days, weeks, whatever, however you want to distribute that stuff. Hey, there's a new message. A different agent is asking for some help. Introduce events like that, whatever. Like, get used to the idea of Aura saying, I have a new offer for you. Come on, man. Like, I played a Cyberpunk 2077, and whatever you want to say about the actual gameplay itself, or the bug, or whatever you want to call it, that actually active, like, every time you get connected to a new agent, or while you're playing, over time, one by one, different people will contact you and be like, hey, heard you're the new hot guy in town. I have work for you. Come work for me. And that feels way more natural to bring people in than just, hey, here's the MMO. Hope you figure out where to go, because if you don't know, then you don't even, there's no way to even find out. Hope maybe you could poke around an Aura, or I guess agency, but we're going to go with Aura randomly to get there. Obviously, that doesn't work. No, like I said, don't turn into the pixie for, and you could even set your settings, right? So, maybe if you deny the first mining mission that you're given, or mining agents don't get to you anymore. You actually only get more as you accept things, then more things of that genre are accepted, whatever. So that way you could feel people out and distribute them over the course of like a month, right? So maybe every day, at most, you only get 1 or 2 messages. If you don't check them, then they don't build up, whatever. There's tons of ways of making it make sense. But the bottom line is that waiting for the player to stumble upon it isn't working. So rebrand agency as Aura and make Aura your go-to source for knowledge about what's going on in the game and how to play the game in-game. It'd be awesome. Or it could like pop up, like you could open up this thing and it would have like news, right? So I could pop this open, and in the opening page, it's like things that are important. If a lore event is happening, it could splash like Chalkade attack. Oh my God. And like have the world news there. Cause it's Aura letting me know what's happening in the fucking universe. Come on now. Like this is not difficult. All right. First, do I get the warrior? There's a praxis that I'm contesting against. I don't know if I'm going to get the warrior. I think it's hard to say whether or not you do. Oh yeah, it's whether or not I get the loot, but I don't know if that means I get the bounty or not. Somebody was saying that only the top person gets the bounty. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But I do know that only the top person gets this one. Oh, I need to get pelled up. Yeah, that one was mine. Oh yeah, I didn't get the battleship. I didn't really care about the battleship, to be honest. It'll be interesting to see if I get the payout then. Oh, you called me an asshole. Oh. What? Why? The site was barely began when I showed up. I did like half the work. Some people really feel like they deserve a site just because they started it. I'm an asshole. Now, normally I like to like split the loot or whatever, but when somebody's kind of grumpy like that, I don't know. I don't know so much about that. See, this isn't a great site anyways. It's fine. It's fine. Fine. Only like 5 million. I would have given him more than that, but he was a jerk about it, so never mind.
Warp drive active.
It is the spirit of the game. Possessiveness is a common train in Eve. That isn't going to fit entirely. So you got possessiveness is a. That's why low sex sites are superior. I mean, sure. All right, so spoiler alert, you go open exploration and you go to combat anomalies, and that lets you see SOE sites from one jump away.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, the low sec data sites are definitely the winner out of all of this. I mean, guys, your praxis isn't going to beat this. Are you serious? A medium weapon system with 1179 DPS. If I had my DPS meter running, I've actually peaked at 1400 DPS when blowing up the can, just because you get a single wrecking shot and it's good to go. It's hilarious. I did lose my previous absolution though because Edencom still scrams regardless of what they say. They let me through 3 times, gave me a really good false sense of security, and then bam, ate my face off.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, I should overheat for the can, but I don't really care. The one piece of this that makes me an asshole is the fact that I've already like, oh hey, they got rid of because the PvP sites are over, so now there's hit an EOM ship with a firework. But hitting an EOM ship with a firework doesn't do anything. They ask you to, but it doesn't do anything. Like there's no reward here. What the hell? What? Okay, well, now I have to go find a firework just to do it, just to verify that I don't get anything out of it. Whatever. Be an ass, kill them all. I can't. I'm in low. I'm in high sec, man. I need to behave. How did I guess I just didn't go to the EOM site. I don't remember what just happened. Whatever.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, I have points past max, but my point is that on the reward, it doesn't even have points. It won't give me points. Like, when this was the combat, the PvP arena, it gave you 8 million ISK or whatever. But this is giving you nothing. Sir Nub needs to get VIP'd. Sir Nub, thank you for that raid earlier also. And everybody who's here, make sure to follow Sir Nub and Satonia. I have failed to give you VIP because apparently I've run out of VIP slots. I'm going to have to work on that another time, Sir Nub. Sorry. It's backfired. Hold on. Not right now. Afterwards, we'll talk, okay? He wants an Oreo candy yogurt, and he agrees to do the dishes with me today if he does it. Yes or no? I'm not going to do a full poll. Should I let him have a candy yogurt? It'll probably ruin his dinner. Although we could probably do dinner late. Let's see. People are saying yes. Go for it. We'll do dishes afterwards. Yep, the guys in chat want you to be able to have your that's a good deal. So
Okay.
go on. Oh, they can. Okay, yep, come on.
Thanks for having me eat this candy yogurt right here.
All right, go on. Get out of here. You're welcome. All right. Where was I? We're all lucky that he lets me do this, to be honest. All right. Let's see. Where is a good... Man, there's like... We'll see.
Warp drive active.
Probably the healthiest candy available. Yeah, I agree. That's why I got it. Well, he doesn't normally have to do the dishes. He made up that entire thing. I actually really appreciate it because normally he doesn't actually like think of something like that. Normally he'd just be like, I want it, and he's just interrupting. But he actually went through the effort of thinking about what he could do to get it, which is pretty good. We'll see if it works out. I don't. We'll see. We'll see.
Warp drive active.
I don't think he's suggesting that there's anything wrong with peach yogurt. I think that he's suggesting that giving somebody something healthy as if it was candy, using fruit as a treat, as a sweet, is an age-old tradition. Yeah, fruit as candy is the correct way to do it, to be honest. Regular haulers can be nullified. Thoughts? Interesting. I want to see the cowboy that starts hauling in a T1 in nullsec because now he can be interdiction nullified. It is worth noting that I think you could probably pull off the cloaky micro warp drive trick within the time of nullification. So that's, you can do a cloaky micro warp drive trick nullified T1 industrialist just to get something out there. And then depending on how the Warpcore stabs get played out, whether or not they are the way that they're described on the forums versus the way that they are on Sissy, may change quite a bit about whether or not Warpcore stabs, how viable Warpcore stabs are to save ships moving around. So Tony did the cloaky micro warp drive trick. Is that like with a ship that would otherwise not be able to, like with a T1 industrial, I assume? Not a actual like Covop's cloaky ship, like a blockade runner. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be possible for sure. Did this site just not get run? Yeah, this site didn't get finished. That's fine. Just glad that there's actual content for me to get interested in that CCP is providing. I play this in WoW. Yeah, I'm really interested in the new event, the new site building event that's going to happen, or the new gate building event. It'll be very interesting to me to see what player base, what components of the player base decide to join in that fight on which sides, if that makes sense. Who decides to, whether or not they fight to reconnect Jita and Amar, whether or not they connect Galente and Mimitar easier, whether or not they get our low-sec gate to Stain, and whether or not we connect Solitude better to Galente space without having to go through nullsec. It's going to be an interesting question. Stealth Bombers getting the new thing is going to be... I think that is probably the biggest problem out of the changes as they are described right now is Stealth Bombers getting that interdiction nullification. I suspect that that's the one that's going to be the most problematic, I guess. And it looked like Satonia was agreeing with me on that. Yeah, is it 11 jumps? Yeah, 10 or 11 jumps to Amar, depending on how you count your jumps, with one low-sec jump if you succeed. So it's not as good as Niarja was, or, before Niarja was taken. But, I mean, it gives you a mulligan. It gives you an opportunity to reconnect those systems. And blockade runners are going to be able to get through there pretty good. It's going to be interesting. I know that there's going to be people that are interested in stopping the one between Amar and Jita. There are some people, the interest in stopping the Galente one is relatively mild now that they've discovered that it won't actually connect high-sec to high-sec. So I think that there's going to be a lot less interest in stopping it than there was. And there may be interest in building it. With the Stargate, with that particular Stargate, I think that the question is more, are people willing to do something because an NPC actor told them to? Right? In the Galente Stargate case, the reason why you build it is because Celis Agard has said to. That's each one of the other one, like each gate had their own reason to be built. And the biggest reason to build the Galente one right now is lore reason. So it'll be interesting to see who does it explicitly because Celis Agard has asked people to. I know there's a lot of people with a vested interest in keeping Amar and Kaldari separated. I know there's a lot of people with a vested interest in preventing the low-sec gate to Stain. So I think both of those are going to be contested. I think that the Mimitar system one is going to be interesting because it's going to be the hardest one to disrupt. It appears, at least at this time, that it's going to be high-sec on both sides, which was going to make it likely the hardest one for somebody if somebody was so inclined to disrupt it. We obviously don't know for sure that we will be able to disrupt these things, but it seems to be the direction that they're going. It seems like that would be the gameplay that makes sense or be the most exciting. But if they went that route, then it would be the most difficult to disrupt the Mimitar to Galente connection. I am also going to be wrapping things up soon. So if there's any other questions, comments, or concerns, my son is losing his patience, and my time is about up. The quick list of ships that are getting this advantage added to them. So in the end, the list of ships that are going to be nullified or be able to use interdiction nullification will be interceptors, blockade runners, covert ops frigates, deep space transports, luxury yachts, strategic cruisers, Tech 1 and faction frigates, and stealth bombers, with the additional bonus to help, mitigate the penalties and the reduce the delay in using it again by half for luxury yachts, interceptors, and the nullification subsystem for Tech 3 cruisers. So that's the high level of who gets the new nullification. That, as you can, for those of you paying attention, that means that there's a wider variety of ships that are going to get this functionality, but the functionality itself is significantly weaker. With the only remaining ship to have the old school nullification being shuttles. Shuttles are now going to have a passive nullification in the same way that other ships used to have. So shuttles are the big winner for sure. Blockade runners just got a big buff too, for sure. I would say that those are the two biggest winners. Stealth bombers are up there. I think that stealth bombers are going to be, like I said, the most controversial or the most potential for negative impact. The ability for stealth bombers to just kind of get through a bubble and onto target is pretty huge. Interceptors are getting their passive removed, but changed to be a bonus to the reactivation and reduction of the penalty of the module. So you now won't be interdiction nullified unless you have the module. But it also appears that both interceptors may be able to use the module. All right, guys, after this set, I am going to have to wrap things up. Sorry about that. It was good to be able to cover. It's a low slot. Yeah, interceptors got hurt the hardest because the fitting required for these, and Tech 1 frigates got pretty buffed because now any Tech 1 frigate or pirate or faction frigate can now be your escape bay, escape ship way more effectively and be interdiction nullified potentially. Armor and interceptors are by far the current losers of the entire change. But again, this is all very rudimentary stuff. We know very little. We know that there's going to be at least one big change to Sissy in the next couple of days. So, what's important is to be paying attention that this change is coming and not necessarily be obsessed with any given detail of the change, if that makes sense. It's fine. I appreciate it too. And once again, this has been the Eve Universe podcast. We have We are here to put Eve into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. We show up on Twitch at least twice a week on Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday to talk about what has changed this week. Friday to talk about what it is to do this weekend. Today, or this week, obviously, we did it on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. But regardless of when I do it, and I appreciate everybody being, flexible because unfortunately, I am a single father and I do this entire operation all by myself. So I can't necessarily be as consistent or static as I would like to be. But I do get all of the episodes up on YouTube very quickly. So you can also, subscribe and follow there to get anything that you might miss. Please follow me on 22 million plus a base, 22 million with a basic capsuleer. Follow me on Twitch to get the streams live, and of course follow me on Twitter to get the most latest information about EVE Online. I have been Ashtarothi. I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. This has been the EVE Universe Show. Thank you so much. If you want to support what I do, please consider subbing on Twitch, doing the PayPal donations or Patreon subscriptions, and thank you. And a big thanks to all my Patreons. Hold on. Darkender82, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole at EVE Online. Thank you from on behalf of all of my viewers to my Patreon supporters. You guys are the reason why this happens. So thank you very much. And until next time, Colossus Demise, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole. And until next time, I'll see you in space.